Hi, kids. It's Teacher Sandy again with a story for you. And I wanted to tell you I'm not wearing my mask. I have my mask, but I'm not wearing it because I'm by myself here. If other people were here, I would have to wear my mask. Do you remember what compassion is? Compassion is when we care about other people and we want to be kind to them and we want to help them. And sometimes compassion helps us to become brave. And I have a story about some friends that were very brave. One day, Jesus was coming to a village, and he went to someone's house. We don't know whose house it was, but everybody was excited to see Jesus. They crowded into the house because they had probably heard stories about how Jesus healed people and how he taught people things. And sadly, some of the people came because they didn't like him and they wanted to argue with him. So the people were crowded into a house, and there were so many people that not one more person could fit in the door. There were some friends. It says young men, so they may have been teenagers. And they had a friend who couldn't walk. He spent all his time laying on a bed, something like this mat, sort of like a camping mat. And it was probably long enough for him to lay on, but he couldn't walk and he couldn't get up off the bed. He just had to stay inside. And that made his friends really sad. When the group got to the house, it was so crowded and they couldn't get in. And they said, but Jesus could heal our friend. He could help him walk so we can go out and do stuff together. And they tried to get in, and they probably asked people to move, but there was no room for the people to move. So they couldn't take their friend into the house. Then they got an idea. They said, what if we take him up on the roof and make a hole in the roof and use a rope to let him down by Jesus? Then for sure Jesus will want to heal him. What do you think your parents would do if you made a hole in their roof? I don't think parents would be too happy, so I wonder about the people whose house it was. But the boys went up on the roof and made a hole in it, and they lowered their friend down right in front of Jesus. And when Jesus saw him, he said, oh, you must have friends that like you so much and had compassion for you and brought you to be healed. And so he said, your sins are forgiven. Get up and walk and take your bed and go home. And guess what? The young man got up and he rolled up his bed, and I think he was probably jumping around for excitement. Now, remember I told you that some people came to hear Jesus because they wanted to argue with him? Well, that's what happened. There was a group of people there who were called scribes, and they were watching Jesus. They wanted to get him in trouble. And when they heard him tell the friend that he was forgiven and that he could walk, they said, hey, who does he think he is? He can't do that. Only God can do that. Jesus could tell what they were thinking. He could tell by their faces and the way they looked at each other. And so he said to them, I know what you guys are thinking, but let me ask you this question. Is it easier to say, I forgive you? Or is it easier to say, get up and walk? Or is it easier to say, I see you and I love you? I'm going to show you that it's possible to do all of these. And when the friend got up and picked up his mat, Jesus said, see, you're healed. I bet that young man was so surprised. Maybe he had never ever been able to walk. And maybe he could walk once and then something happened to make him crippled. And I think his friends must have been so excited that they could do stuff with their friends again. Now, I think they were really brave. And sometimes kids think that they can only be brave for great big scary things. But you know what? We might. But whether it's for a friend or a stranger, we can be brave too when we care about somebody. Sometimes being brave just means being a kind friend, sticking up for somebody that someone's bullying, spending time with someone who's lonesome, maybe drawing a picture for somebody who's sad. Those things are all brave and kind things to do. And sometimes being brave means that we are being like Jesus in seeing and loving and accepting someone for just who they are.